Hi and welcome back. In this lesson we will look at language that you can use when you move from one section of your talk to another. This will include language for checking understanding and also a special section on how to end your talk. So let's get to it. You may remember in the talk that I gave you about beginning your presentation. I said it's a good idea to try and use an outline or a list of topics so that the audience can follow what you're talking about. When you move from one topic to another or one section to another, it's good to show this outline again so the audience can follow and see where you are. In addition to this, it's good to use some special language as you move from one section to another. These are called transitions, and if you can transition well, then the audience can really follow your talk easily and not get lost. There are a number of different ways that you can express a transition, so let's look at some of that language now. You're probably familiar with numbering your talk. First, second, third, finally, and so on. That's probably the easiest kind of transition. Another common way is to use the verb move, such as moving on, let's move on, moving on to the next point. Shall we move on? We're ready to move to the next point. You can also clearly signal that you are switching topic by saying something like, now I want to switch topic and discuss. Or, that's all I want to say about ABC. Now I want to switch to XYZ. So using these phrases, your audience knows that one section of your talk is finishing and the next section is beginning. Okay, moving on. Clear transitions really help the audience to follow when you move from one section to another. In addition, it's important to try and check with the audience directly to see that they are following. This is especially important in very long presentations when it's easy to get lost. It's good to focus on them and give them the chance to clarify any points that they're not sure about. It's also an interactive part of your presentation and can help encourage rapport between you and the audience. There are two main ways to do this. Let's look at them in turn. Firstly, you can check how things are going. In this case, you're not necessarily looking for comments from the audience. You just want to build rapport by asking them whether they are following your presentation or they are enjoying it. So here's a few short phrases. Okay? Are we okay so far? So far so good? Clear enough? A second category is that you want to stop and ask some questions in order for the audience to give you some answers. Do you have any thoughts so far? Do you have any questions? Are there any particular problems that you'd like to bring up? In either way, by asking a check question or asking a real question, it's good to see how the audience is dealing with your talk and whether they're following or not. Now, moving on to the ending of your talk. So, you're coming to the final part of your talk. You've moved from one section to another using transition language. You've checked with the audience that they know where they are and they're not lost. And probably your final important section will be some kind of summary or some kind of conclusion or some kind of inspirational comment to the audience. And then you want to transition into the ending itself. There's a Japanese proverb that says if the ending is good, then the rest of the talk is good too. This is because most people remember the most recent thing that's happened to them more clearly than other things. So if you can make your ending memorable, that's probably what the audience will remember most. So how do we make a good ending? There are three parts to the ending. First of all, to signal that you are finishing. Secondly, to thank the audience. And finally, to ask them for any questions or comments that they may have. Let's look at some useful language for each of these in turn. So you can signal the end by saying such things as, I'd like to finish here. I believe I've covered everything. You can thank the audience in various ways, such as, thank you so much. It's been an honour to talk today. And you can invite questions by saying such things as, if you have any questions, please ask. Do you have any questions? I would like to take some questions now. So if you can do those 3 things, then the audience is very clear that you've signalled the end, they feel appreciated by you, and they have the opportunity to ask some questions. So in today's lesson, we've done 3 things. Firstly, talked about transitions, which is the move from one section of your talk to another. And this is very important so that your audience doesn't get lost and that they can follow clearly. So signalling and showing your transition points are very important to help the audience understand your talk. Secondly, as a kind of part of transitions, at that point you can check with your audience, either just a short phrase like okay, or asking a genuine question whether they have any comments or points that they need clarifying. And finally, it's important to show that you're ending your talk clearly by signalling the end, by thanking the audience, and by inviting them to ask questions. And as usual, practice, practice, practice.